أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأصحاب أجمعين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, all praise belongs to Allah for all that He has given us, and out of every blessing in our life there is no better than Al-Islam. And in our series of Tibba Nabawi, so far we have looked at various aspects of the Quran and Ahadith that benefits our life beyond our comprehension. Often we think that acts of ibadat are confined to the hereafter in terms of rewards. But Tibba Nabawi teaches us that every act of ibadat benefits every cell of our body. It benefits the intellect, the mind, the heart, our social interactions, our emotions. So it speaks about holistic purification, holistic healing. And in our last week's lesson, we dealt with elimination, and we said how important it is to rid the body of waste products in order to enjoy good health. And this entire deen is about ridding harmful substances or aspects of our life. So every act of ibadah has a holistic purification. But there is no act of ibadah that provides more cleansing than the act of fasting. And we find that the topic tonight is an ideal time for us to prepare for the month of Ramadan. The habit of the Sahaba was that when Ramadan passed for 6 months, they would miss the month. They would benefit from the fruits of that month. And for the next 6 months, they would prepare for the month of Ramadan. So our topic would include fasting as holistic purification. So we find whilst for thousands of years, all cultures around the world spoke highly of the fast. So some people or some nations would use fasting for spiritual reasons. Some would use fasting for physical reasons, for emotional reasons. Today we find that due to the big hype around health education, fasting is looked at as a purification for the body. It is looked at as a detoxification program. But within Islam, we looked at fasting from a spiritual aspect. But definitely the doctors of the past in Tibba Nabawi recognize that fasting benefits every aspect that makes us human. So let's look at the health benefits of fasting. We know that when we fast, we do not eat from Fajr till Maghrib, which means that there's no food or drink entering the body. What does it mean? We have to recall the lesson on Sunnah nutrition, where we recognize that everything we eat can either be a slow form of poison or harm, or it can be an antidote which fights disease. So everything we eat can be categorized in being good for the body or bad for the body. So when we're consuming foods without contemplating, without following the Sunnah, and in our modern day society we find that many foods that we eat would be contaminated with, it's either GMO products, preservatives, colorants, high sugared, fatty foods. And when those foods enter the body recognizes many of the foods that we eat as allergens. So it starts to fight off the food. So for many of us, we have this underlying mild inflammation taking place, where the body is trying to fight off harmful substances that enter the body. But we see it as food. The body recognizes it as tampered food, meaning impure food. We said that we have been created on the fitrah, and our natural inclination is to consume that which is alongside our creation. So when we consume foods that grow from the earth in its natural form, it's easy on the body. The digestion process would be with minimal harm. So definitely the body is inclined towards those type of foods. So during fasting, the number one benefit is that when we are not taking in foods, the body's immunity, the energy that it used to fight off food allergens, there's energy and heat available. Otherwise, the body will be working overtime. So that means there's a toxin decrease that enters the body. So when food enters the body is working hard. The digestion process takes hours, sometimes beyond 10 hours, up to 12 hours. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of blood supply. So whilst we're eating, the blood rushes to the digestion, to the digestive tract in order to feed the different processes, and there's heat being given off, and it's an extremely intricate, intense process. So when the digestion has the rest, the body can focus on cleanup, on detoxification. So we find that the toxicity level is low. So now the energy of the body is redirected towards healing. So the stomach lining that would otherwise feel inflammation, the heartburn that we suffer, the bloatedness, the flatulence, we find that we don't have it while we're fasting because we have limited the increase of food. The body's immune system, the army of the body, the policemen in the body, the white blood cells are on high alert. So think about a war zone. If there's continuous bombardment of the enemy all around the borders, and they're attacking from all sides, the army is under pressure. If they attack at a different side where there's weakness, the enemy will enter. So likewise with the body. As the body is fighting off all these allergens and toxins through the process of digestion, when a certain bug enter the body, all the body's strength, the strength of the immune system cannot be focused on that bug alone because it's busy with all the other toxins. But when the food is limited in the body, when we go through the process of fasting, we find that the immune system is heightened. The immunity is more alert. And this can be seen via blood tests. So the T lymphocytes that we call them, white blood cells, natural killer cells, tumor necrosis factor, all these biomarkers of immunity improves during the fasting state. We find that the blood is also cleansed. So when we stay away from food for a long time, we find that all the cells release the waste products into the blood. Pesticides, insecticides, certain pollutants in the environment sometimes would be stored in fat. So when we fast and the fat breaks down, we find that these harmful substances would be released in the blood. Therefore, we find in the first week of fasting, we feel this high level of fatigue, of stomach complaints. Some would have diarrhea, indigestion, headaches, because the body is undergoing a cleansing process. So every cell releases waste product into the bloodstream. The bloodstream moves the waste to the exit routes, which is through the urinary tract, through the intestines, through the pores. Whilst you fast, you'll notice that your sweat has a different odor. The body is undergoing cleansing. So every week of fasting, there's different processes that the body goes through. Week number 2, you'll find that your headaches would decrease. Because once the waste products is eliminated through the body, there's cleansing that takes place. There's healing that takes place. So you find many organs benefits during the fasting process. The colon, the kidneys, the liver, pancreas, all the organs involved in digestion would find a break during the fasting process. So you find many illnesses within the colon improves due to fasting. We find that bacteria and parasites that would be harbored or lives in different cells would also be eliminated during fasting. Fasting improves certain hormone levels. It has been proven that if you on the borderline of diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, before Ramadan, and you fast the entire month according to the Sunnah, you can reverse all of that. Meaning, the doctor told you that your levels are high, he's about to put you on medication. You can reverse that just by the month of fasting. For some people that's on medication for a short while, that process can also reverse the need for medication. However, if you're on medication for a long while, and as for high blood pressure and diabetes, understand that you have to obtain your doctor's supervision when it comes to fasting. So it shouldn't be that the fasting, we know it benefits all conditions, but for the chronic patient, meaning the one that relies on medication, they have to seek medical supervision whenever they undergo fasting. Understand that Tibba Nabawi, the purpose of Tibba Nabawi is to ensure good health. But at no means should your health be compromised because of an act of ibadah. So the act of ibadah does not go beyond your health. Therefore we find these concessions in the deen. We find that if you have a certain illness, that you can perform wudu with dust. So tayammum becomes permissible for you. You can perform salah on a chair. For those people that their blood sugar levels are too low or too high, they don't have to fast. But we have some people, because they believe that they have to fast and they can't miss out, they put their bodies into severe distress. So the fasting can actually become makruh for some people, or even haram, when the doctor advises you not to fast, but you still go against the doctor's advice and you harm the body. So understand the fasting is beneficial for many people, but for those on medication, they should seek doctor's advice. And the doctor that treats you, you would know how to adjust your medication, or you will know if fasting is permitted for you or not. We also find that we live in a time where everyone has some type of addiction, whether it's cigarettes, sugar, salt, samosas, dalgis, whatever food you like. There's something that we like in excess. And like we said in the past, the thing that you like the most and you consume the most could most likely lead to your downfall in terms of health. So if you have a sweet tooth and you have too much sugar every day, it will affect the pancreas and you will develop diabetes. If you love fatty foods, you eat it every day, it will lead to high cholesterol. But if you love sugar and you have it in moderation, so you have it now and then, a reward now and then, then it becomes something that can be enjoyable and not harmful to the body. So the month of Ramadan presents an ideal opportunity to reduce our cravings and our addictions, whether it be smoking, whatever foods we love, high caffeine, because in a state of fasting, the body returns to its natural state, its fitrah. And whatever food we have at iftar time will be enjoyable to the body. So the body craves good, nutritious food. So if you're not a person that enjoy good, healthy food, if you're fasting and you break your fast with those foods, it becomes enjoyable. Because you're in a state of mild starvation. So that food that you previously disliked that could be good for you becomes palatable. It tastes like the best food. So the fast can be used to curb our cravings. So if you're a person that you're addicted to sugar throughout the day and you break your fast with a date and water and honey and good sugars, you can curb the processed sugar. Why is it that for some people that smoke, they cannot stay away from cigarettes in the day? So throughout the day, they chain smokers. But during the month of Ramadan, they can do it. Because the month of Ramadan gives us that willpower, that strength to break down those habits. So if you could stay the whole day away from smoking for 30 days, it's enough to build up that willpower to stay away from smoking completely. And I know many people that actually use the month of Ramadan to quit smoking. So all the fat and sugar we find in the modern diet today, we find that the food industry in the last 40 years has transformed into an industry that's based on addiction. Foods are engineered to present a certain taste. Therefore, you find all takeaways would be palatable to people that love takeaways, because there's a certain mixture of fat, sugar, and salt. There's colorants, there's food additives that's added to that burger to make it taste better. And in every drive-through meal, there's the same taste that we crave. And we find that that combination of fat, sugar, and salt is added to sweets and to chocolates, and we cannot get away from it. But the month of Ramadan, you can, because the body craves good natural nutrition. We find that when we have a high toxic load on the body. When we undergoing impaired digestion, every organ suffers. Every organ is exerted and works extra hard. But during the month of fasting, because we have a decreased toxic load, which means there's decreased wear and tear, the body is able to regenerate at a better rate. So which means the functioning and the longevity of your organs is improved. So fasting can slow down the aging process. So look at those individuals that observe the Sunnah fast throughout their lives. You will notice something about them. They're very healthy individuals. You notice something about their character. You notice something about their skin. Their skins are glowing. They live to good old age, and they still are able to do things that young people cannot do, because fasting has become their habit. And today we find that there's extensive research going into fasting. If you were to go online, you'll see there's websites, books, courses on what they call the 5-2 diet. It's called the official 5-2 diet, known as intermittent fasting. So they have recognized that when you fast, and there's different types of fasting around. You have your water fast, whereby you only drink water. You have your fasting where you only leave out certain foods. You have your fasting where you eat at a certain time of the day. So they've done studies on all of these types of fasting, and they recognize that the Islamic way of fasting, which means to stay away from food from Fajr till Maghrib, is the most beneficial type of fasting on the body, for the joints, for the blood pressure, sugar levels, for the heart, for regeneration of cells. And then they notice that when you fast about 2 days a week, they came up with this. I'm not sure if they came up with it or they looked into a hadith, but they came up with a combination of 5-2. It's called a 5-2 diet. They say fast for 2 days and eat what you like for 5 days. And this combination on a weekly basis will correct your metabolism, no matter what you're eating. That's the theory. Because that 2 days of fasting does enough regeneration, cleanup, detoxification to correct what took place in the last 5 days. And they call it the 5-2 official diet. And many people are following it, especially in the UK, in Australia. And people are showing results, and the studies are conducted by doctors, medical doctors. So they're conducting research, extensive research, and there's people losing weight, improving cholesterol, improving the sugar levels from the 5-2 diet, what they call the official 5-2 diet. If you go online, you'll see there's enough information online. What's more astonishing about this 5-2 diet, the researchers mentioned that the best days to fast would be the Monday and the Thursday. Why? Because in modern society, the weekends are the times when we eat crazy, when we go to our functions, and whoever follows a strict diet in the week, the weekends you can't help it, and you tend to overeat. So they say to fast on a Thursday would be a good prep. You're preparing the body for the weekend. And to fast on a Monday is a detoxification of what happened the weekend. So they say the best days to fast in the week is a Monday and Thursday. And for those of us that know the ahadith, we know the Prophet ﷺ lived by this. He fasted on a Monday and a Thursday. And this is recommended in Tibba Nabawi, not for the medical reasons. It is recommended for the act of ibadah. But we mentioned that when we perform our acts of ibadah the way the Prophet did, then we benefit medically, emotionally, intellectually. So our number one reason for doing any act of ibadah is to worship Allah. But when we do it to perfection, the way the Prophet ﷺ did, we see through Tibba Nabawi that all other aspects of our lives is benefit or improves. So understand a good way to prepare for the month of Ramadan is to adhere to the Monday and the Thursday fasting. What's also very significant, the Prophet also mentioned that the 13th, 14th and 15th of the month is also a good time to fast. And we find when we look at the cycle of the sun and the moon, different cycle of the phases of the moon, that the 13th and the 14th of the month coincides with the changes, and our body, our physiology, our cells are in line with those changes. We also find that in cupping therapy is recommended on the 19th, on the 17th, the 19th, and 21st of every month, which also coincides with the cycle of the moon. That would just be past the spring tides, which means the ocean levels are very high. So all the world's lakes and rivers, the tides are higher. So we're made of 70% water. So during those times of the month, the toxin level is very high in the blood. It's close to the surface. So when you do cupping during those times, it's beneficial. When you add that to fasting, it means that the 13th, 14th, and 15th would have been a cleansing process, moving all the toxins to the blood. So when you couple fasting with cupping, we find a very good detoxification program. We find that the fast does not only benefit the physical body, it improves our mental function as well. As we mentioned in the past, there's certain foods that can degrade our mental alertness, that makes us fatigued, that makes us mentally sluggish. Therefore, you find during the fast, our minds are clear. When we study well. When we memorize well. Except when it's close to iftar time, we become shaky because we're very hungry. But otherwise, we find there's barakah in the day. Why is it that we have so much time in the month of Ramadan? Because out of Ramadan, we spend so much time eating. If you were to time yourself on what goes into the meal, getting to the table, setting it up, all the time that involved in eating, you'll see that a large part of our lives we're busy eating. But the month of Ramadan brings us back to a balance. And the objective is that when we leave the month of Ramadan, we create a new program for us. So definitely, during fasting, the state of fasting, our brain function improves. We are able to concentrate better. Our memory improves. We find this mental alertness. We looked at the month of Ramadan and fasting according to the Sunnah has psychological aspects to it as well. Because the month of Ramadan is all about improving our yaqeen. It teaches us perseverance, patience. So all of this allows us to deal with life's stresses as well. It increases our willpower. So your niyyah for Ramadan is to improve all your acts of ibadat, but you could also couple the niyyah to improve your physical condition, to eat according to the sunnah. And by doing that, mentally you're preparing yourself as the days of Ramadan approaches and as you prepare your Mondays and Thursday fasting, and you can actually improve your willpower. So some tips on how to fast. What would be the ideal method to fast? Meaning, what do we take in the mornings and what should we eat at night? So this is important tips to follow because it can improve the month of Ramadan. In that, when we have meals that are heavy, if the iftar is heavy with fried, fatty, heavy foods, we know what happens to the tarawih. We may cut it a bit short, or we may not make it to the masjid because the body is tired and sluggish. So what we want to do is we want to maximize in the month of Ramadan all our fasting program that we want to do Mondays and Thursdays. But what we consume has everything to do with how our body processes the month of fasting or the fasting process. So about 3 or 4 words to use when choosing any types of food to start the day with. So your suhoor meal and your iftar meal. 4 key words from the Tib an-Nabawi would be to consume that which is pure, simple, wholesome, and suitable. Because foods can be pure, simple, and wholesome, but it might not be suitable for your body, for your constitution. So eat foods that agrees with you. So without a doubt, water is the ultimate cleanser. Most of us, we do not drink enough water, or we find that water might not be pleasant tasting because we're used to high sugar drinks. But understand that water, there is no replacement for water. Water is what the body craves. And when you fast, there is no time more than water is needed during the fasting because the body undergoes cleansing. So long before the fast, you should be ensuring that you're hydrating properly. Because during the months of, while you fast, the body is being cleansed, toxins enter the bloodstream, and it's moved to different parts of the body for elimination, and water facilitates it. So wholesome foods would be the foods that grow in your environment. So the oats from our environment, milli meal would be the best food for us because we come from the same environment, the geographical location, the food grows in the same climate. So there's antidotes in the food that Tiba Nabawi teaches us that eat the food of your location because that's the best food for us. So we find the Prophet ﷺ loved milk. We say that goat's milk is one of the purest and most nutritious milk. Start the morning with dates. Without a doubt, dates provides the best nutrition. It has B vitamins. It's the most complete food. It's an energizing food. The Prophet ﷺ said that in the suhoor meal, in the pre-dawn meal, you will find barakah. Meaning that meal had at suhoor will sustain you for the entire day. But choose wisely. Choose foods that are easily digestible. The Prophet ﷺ spoke highly about certain cheeses. Start the day off with nuts, seeds, which is so beneficial for the body. So this can be added to your cereal. Dates and honey can be added to the cereal. Dry food can be added. Ensure that you're having fruits. Fruits from the Sunnah is highly beneficial. We said that pomegranates, especially pomegranate juice, is recognized as one of the most detoxifying drinks. It can fight off free radicals. One of the most drinks that has the most antioxidants. So antioxidants are those types of substances that fight off cancerous cells, harmful cells in the body. So pomegranate juice or pomegranates has a very high level of antioxidants in them. Fruits from the Sunnah, Prophet ﷺ spoke highly of beetroot, of melon, of squashes, broccoli, carrots, olive oil. So these are all the foods that should be included during the month of fasting or during the fasting days, your iftar meals. So what is suitable foods for iftar? Definitely to break your fast with dates. It's not only recommended from the Sunnah, but it suits the body's needs. Staying away from sugar or food throughout the whole day means that the body is starved of sugar. And dates would be the best readily available sugar. It's absorbed very quick into the body. Water. We also said that eat foods, try to avoid drinking very cold beverages when you break your fast, because the body is inclined towards food that suits the body's temperature. So the ideal meal to start off would be soup. There's different types of soups, broths. We'll find that this is very prominent in all our cultures, in our traditions. The halim that you make. We know that the Arabian dishes, the talbina, which is a barley type of broth, a barley type of soup, very nutritious. Soups that have dals in it, chickpeas in it. And at the time of fasting, when you open your fast or break your fast with a good nutritious meal, these foods would be well absorbed and it goes to the correct places. So we find that nutritional medicine speaks about bioavailability of nutrients, the vitamins A, B, C, and E, and the numerous other vitamins. When food is taken on an empty stomach, those nutrients are absorbed better. A good drink to make during fasting or to have, if you cannot tolerate milk, would be coconut milk, almond milk. So the curries that we normally have, very good. Limit the meat intake. Also the spices that we use. We mentioned that today there's there's loads of research showing the benefits of turmeric, of curcumin, jeera, of coriander, ginger. All these spices have been shown to be highly beneficial. It improves our immunity. It shows that immune cells are improved during illness conditions in the presence of these spices. So try to obtain pure spices. Try to ground your own spices. So buy the spices whole, ground the spices. So the smell of the spice has a benefit on the body. It's called aromatic medicine. So therefore you find that when food is cooked at home, the process of digestion is facilitated better. Because while the food is cooked and the spices are being crushed, your body is preparing for digestion, as opposed to getting food from a drive-through in a packet that's lacks nutrition and proper flavors. We find the black seed is also highly recommended to use in meals. So cook with black seed, throw it in your food, in your soups. It can be used on breads. Olive oil. We find the whole range of spices and herbs being used in Tiba Nabawi. Basil, parsley, coriander, rocket. All of these spices should be revived during the fasting period. We know that Sunnah Nutrition speaks about adding these herbs to our food. So use it as seasoning as opposed to artificial spices. Use these crushed herbs, dried herbs over foods. Salads is also important. Fruit salad, a very good meal to have in the morning and the evening. So there's various ways. And if you have the sweet tooth and you love your cakes and biscuits, there's ways to make them in a healthier fashion. Use certain spices for certain cakes like cardamom, ginger. Use almonds, sweeten with honey. Use almond milk, sweeten with dates. We know the boba, the different types of desserts that can be made with coconut milk. So there's ways and means. When it comes to certain desserts, add fruits to the desserts. Chopped up berries with honey. There's so many recipes out there for the table to add dates filled with coconut and almonds is a perfect treat for children. So it just takes a bit of imagination. Online you'll find different recipes. So to eat healthy according to the Sunnah is not only nutritious, it can be very enjoyable. So what happens is we often think that to eat healthy means that we have to eat a boring meal. That's not true. We just have to go beyond what we used to and explore a bit, and you'll find that the closer we come to the Sunnah, our health is improved. We enjoy our food better. The family bond is improved because the Sunnah is all about eating in Jama'ah, reciting over the food, improving our social interactions. So everything that the Sunnah presents will improve our condition. So the month of fasting, our Sunnah fast, Sunnah nutrition will bring us to a better state of well-being. Some Sunnah health drinks, the Prophet ﷺ used to love drinking sweetened water. So you'll soak dates in water, where all the nutrients would be absorbed in the water, so the water becomes sweet. You would soak raisins in water. So we'll find that in different illness conditions, these drinks will be beneficial, but it can also be used as an energizing drink. So often we're looking for a type of energy drink. So it's an energy drink that looks blue or purple in color, and it's high in sugar. Probably half of the drink would be sugar and caffeine. But if we look at energy drinks from the Sunnah, it would be honeyed water or date water and raisin water, and the nutrition in that goes beyond what the energy drinks can present. So the energy drinks and the caffeine gives you a instant high, but you come crashing down later. But Sunnah drinks, the honey drinks, the date drinks, gives you a sustained high. So the sugar level doesn't spike so high. It's at a reasonable level, but it's sustained longer. The Prophet ﷺ drank tea. So we find that in our culture, tea is very revered. So there's various herbal teas that's beneficial. If you're suffering from any indigestion problems, peppermint tea is excellent. Ginger tea is excellent. Chamomile. So introduce these teas whilst you're fasting, and it facilitates the healing process. we find that infused water is another enjoyable drink. Instead of having juices that are unnatural, home juicing is highly beneficial. So to blend certain fruits and vegetables, what we call live juicing, would be one of the best ways to enjoy juicing. But the juice that is bought in the shops would be high in preservatives, citric acids. So a way to curb ourselves on these type of drinks would be to use infused water, whereby you cut up certain fruits that you like, leave it in water overnight, and the next day the water would be flavored. And also to remember that to drink according to the Sunnah would facilitate good digestion. It will allow us to have rewards of the Sunnah and make the actual experience of drinking to our benefit, because there's ways of drinking that can harm us. To drink water out of a liter bottle is harmful on the digestive tract because water is being forced. The Sunnah teaches us to drink 3 sips at a time, not to breathe into the vessel. And we end off with this ayah where Allah says that eat and drink to your heart's content for the reward for your hard work. This would be what would be said to the companions in Jannah. So understand that when we practice Tibba Nabawi in the dunya, we are preparing ourselves for this ayat in the Jannah. So incorporate Sunnah nutrition, incorporate the recommendations from Tibba Nabawi, and we will find a definite improvement to our well-being, a definite improvement to our state of health, and a way to fend off illnesses. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. The question is, are the good properties of olive oil destroyed by heat? So we find that in the literature, the research, there's conflicting evidence to this. But one of the recent journals I read shows that the higher grade of olive oil, meaning the most pure olive oil, can handle the most heat. But definitely, the higher the heat, some of the medicinal value is lost. So the way to ensure that we're getting the best of both would be to oven bake, for instance, if you oven bake vegetables and you add seasoning to it and water to create a moist environment. And as the water dry, it will cook the vegetables, and when the vegetables come out of the oven, you can drizzle with olive oil. So you get the vegetables will still be moist, and you'll still get the benefit of the olive oil. So the olive oil doesn't have to, there's various ways of preparing it or to use it without heating it too much. The question is, if one of the uses of magnesium phosphate is to help sleeping patterns, how much should we use per night? This again is patient specific. Often there's a misconception that when we take supplements, we need a certain supplement. Now we read the label and it says that it will improve your sleep and this is the nutrients in there. We also have to remember that that nutrient might be available in that supplement, but whether it gets absorbed in the body is another thing. So the condition of the body is important. If you have impaired digestion, you might not absorb that micronutrient. So this is best left for a consultation where the physician looks at your diet, they look at what you lack, and understand that a lot of the nutrients that we need can be obtained from our fruit and veg. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use supplementation. There's some conditions where supplementation is needed, and the foods that we're eating might not give us that nutrient at that time, and you need a high dose immediately. So I can't give a generalized answer to this. The question is, is it good for your body to work out while you're fasting? Meaning, is it good for you to continue with your gym or swimming, whatever strenuous exercise? If you were doing it before fasting and you're doing it for a while and you're fit, it would be fine. But to decrease it a bit, knowing that your body does not have the same energy intake. However, during the fast, it isn't a good time to start a program, an exercise program. If you're young and you don't have any illness conditions, to start any exercise program will be fine. However, if you're over the age of 40, over the age of 35 for some, and you haven't done exercise in your life, and you want to take up an exercise program as strenuous, consult your doctor. Because there's many cases where people that's so-called young, 35 years old, they start doing heavy gym work, and they suffer a heart attack in the gym, because the work is too strenuous for their body. So understand that Tibba Nabawi also teaches us about gradual moderation. So when you introduce something, do it gradually. The body and the nafs hate harshness. So therefore you cannot go from one extreme to another. So tone it down a bit. Like Imam Ghazali teaches us on how to curb our excessive eating. He says that you cannot be an excessive eater and fast the next day completely. Rather, every night decrease one morsel of food. So likewise with exercise, start off with brisk walking. Brisk walking is the safest. So just 15 to 20 minutes of brisk walking a day is fine. Increase the rate if you can handle it. And basically your body tells you what it can handle. If your body starts to cramp up, it means that the lactic acid has built up and you have to stop. If you push it past that, it can be detrimental to you. However, there's some individuals that can handle it. So for those people that still want to maintain a fitness program, you can continue, but it has to decrease to what you normally do. And also the time of the day that you do it is important. Any other questions? Okay, so our next topic under elimination for next week will be cupping therapy. We'll talk about what is cupping, dry cupping. We'll talk about the difference between hijama and cupping. Who should be cupped, who has the authority to do the cupping. And the aim of it is to also remove a lot of misconception, because cupping is a very great sunnah and we want to maintain the sanctity of the sunnah. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.